And under coursework, for example, do coursework, chapter 2, I think the third one down or something like that, is videos to watch. And I assume that you will watch them. And ask questions if you have questions. And now let's shift. The lab for today. Yeah, it's going to be a faster way to do this.
Is this it?
Ah, yes. Oh, wait. You might want to have version 15. I'm not quite sure what version that is. That's right, I was trying to do this faster. If you could, it's 3 pages, so take one set and pass the rest on. Do the same over here. 3 pages, so take one and pass it. No, it's 3 pages. All right, so the first lab that we'll be doing is, it's basically setting up a vehicle for doing a graph. There are 2 lab orientation videos. Please watch those sooner than later. This lab will be due a week from today. So next Tuesday, I'm expecting you to hand this in. Basically, it'll be these 3 sheets, or if you mess it up and you need 3 other sheets, it'll be, anyway, the 3 sheets filled out. I'm gonna hit some highlights, but you really need to watch those videos, especially the one on making a graph, since that's the main purpose of this. We'll be doing a lot of graphs in here. The group name, as will be mentioned in the video, for everyone in the same group needs to be identical. This is how I know who worked with whom. Now, at some point, I'll probably have a pretty good idea of who worked with whom, but to start out with, I won't. Also, the group that you set up today is not necessarily the group that you have next time or the time after. These are not set groups. The groups can change each week. And when the group names are identical, I mean uppercase for uppercase, lowercase for lowercase, space for space, symbol for symbol. It doesn't even have to be a word, but all of you have to agree. That's probably something that's probably good to know before we started. I will say, and I apologize because some of the stuff is in the video also, there was one group, came up with a group name, they started working on the lab. We were still in the other building a number of years ago. And partway through the lab, somebody was setting up for the next part, and the other 3 were sitting at the table waiting for her to finish. And someone said, "Oh, I've got a great name for the group." And so the 3 of them all changed the name of the group and never told the other person. The other person was penalized for it. In that particular case, I said, just change it real quick. But if you change the name of the group once you've decided, please make sure that you inform everyone in your group. Under data and results A and B, If you'll notice here, it says drop height, and then after drop height, it says centimeters in parentheses. Got the cm there. If the units are in parentheses, please do not repeat them. So next to it in that row, I'm expecting a number. I'm not expecting the centimeters to show up anywhere in there because it's already implied centimeters. If you write centimeters a second time, you're actually saying centimeters squared because it got the centimeters in parentheses plus what you just added. On data results C, and I don't know why I do this, but I think I'm rather consistent on it. All right, so for the first three lines there, I got centimeters, centimeters, and centimeters, so you don't need to write anything after it. For percent error, I do not have percentage, the percent symbol, in parentheses, so you do need to write the percent symbol after whatever number you get. Or put it in parentheses beforehand, but it's less writing if you just put the percent symbol afterwards. The analysis. Questions up here before I talk about analysis? The analysis should be based upon your data. I would assume that if everyone in the same group does basically the same thing, you should have basically the same results. However, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes, after there was one group, they were all working through calculations. I just happened to be listening in on them. They had 3 of them came up with the exact same answer when they did calculations. Someone else came out with a different answer. The one person who came out with a different answer assumed that she had made a mistake, when in fact she was the only one who did it correctly. So that's a place, if they hadn't been working together, they would have had different answers, but the fact that if you just happen to get a different answer than your teammates or lab partners, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. Ideally, you'll try to figure out why there's a discrepancy there. And then I'm not talking about rounding differences. I'm talking about, the answer, you got 5 and the other person had 23. I mean, there's clearly something different there. Discussing the analysis questions with your lab partners, absolutely no problem with it. I've heard great discussions with it. Copying what your lab partner wrote down, no, that's inappropriate. Flashing back, a student clearly copied someone else's because not only were they were identical down to the misspelling and the new lines. They, like 2 words and then 3 words and then 4 words. It was identical. Even though at some point I might be able to guess who did the original and who did the copying, I'm not playing that game. If there's one question where there was, sure it was like copying to me, I'll put a little -5 here on the margin. That says you started with, it's a 6-point problem and you got a -5, so you lost 11 points right there. If the cheating, probably the most extreme case is one student photocopied someone else's lab, scratched out that person's name, and then wrote, the person wrote his or her name over it. Yeah, that's a conversation we're having at that point about whether you're continuing in the class or not. Sorry, I'm not angry at anyone in here. I'm just angry at that student still, too many years later. Wasted enough time on that student. All right, if you have questions about these, I'll be glad to help you with all of them except for the last one. Because what tends to happen if I help students with the last one is I just get parroted back what I think. I want to know what you think. So for that last one, I will not help you. I want to know what you think about that. Leaving it blank is not a good option. In terms of making a graph, I do expect the graphs to be done on a computer. Excel has graphing capability of Office, LibreOffice, spreadsheet, Google Docs, spreadsheet. You can make graphs with all of them. If you're using the online Microsoft Excel, it is woefully inadequate. I mean, you can use it, but it sucks. I mean, it's free, but I'm not sure it's worth that price. As Foresight Tech students, I believe you still can get Excel downloaded onto your laptop or whatever, or you can get a better version than the free Excel online, I hope. But the computers down in the media center or whatever it's called, the library, they'll have Excel on it, as well as, well, most of the computers around here have Excel. Because Microsoft is like Ivy, it's everywhere. You can't get rid of it. If you haven't watched my video when I rant against Microsoft, that'll make more sense when you watch it. I'm sure there's something else that I wish I had said, but fortunately, I got those orientation videos for you to watch, so if I miss something, it's gonna be in there. So we're gonna go down to room 330. No, not 330, that's across the hall. 306, which is where we'll tend to do labs. That's where the equipment is. It's just much easier for everyone to go down there than to me to bring the equipment here and then realize I forgot something and then do another trip and then another trip because I forgot something else. When you get in there, break yourselves up into groups. I will not intervene unless there are issues, but groups no bigger than 3. We could have 5 groups of 3, would work quite nicely.
Are we okay to leave our stuff here?
Yeah, I can lock the door or bring it with you. So when you are done with lab, you are not a prisoner. I am not holding you till 5:50. If you leave, make sure your lab partners are okay with that.
And don't leave one person to clean up the entire lab.
Oh,
Not that
yeah.
Not that I've been that person, but I was that person the entire last semester. So-
Yeah, and I've been that person also because occasionally you get the class of people who don't know how to put things back. Put things back when you are done. Please, put them back. If you don't know where it goes, please ask. I would much rather you ask than to put something completely bizarre place.